Good day everyone, I am Perey and our group will be presenting our final project for CCS 108 or Object Oriented Programming. Our project is a drone delivery scheduling system. This application manages the complete delivery process for a logistics company that uses drones to deliver package to customers. The system is built using Java Swing for the graphical user interface, and it implements three main user roles with different level of access and functionality. First, we have the admin role. Admins have the highest level of access. They can manage all users in the system, adding new users, editing existing ones, or removing users. They also manage the fleet of drones and they can generate various reports to monitor system performance. Second, we have the customer role. Customers can create new delivery requests by providing package information and pick up delivery addresses. They can also view their complete delivery history to track the status of all their deliveries. Third, we have the drone operator role. Operators are responsible for the operational side. They assign available drones for pending delivery requests, and they monitor active deliveries until completion. So the login system authenticates user before granting access. For our demonstration, we've created several dummy accounts. You can log in as admin with username of admin and password of admin123, and as a user with username of customer1 and password of pass123, or as an operator with username of operator1 and password as pass123. So the typical workflow is as follows. A customer logs in and submit a delivery request. So the request appears in the drone operator's dashboard as a pending request. The operator then assigns an available drone to that request, which changes the status to in transit. When the delivery is completed, the operator mark it as delivered, which frees up the drone for the next delivery. Throughout this process, our system uses the observer design to automatically notify all relevant users when delivery status changes. This means customers are informed about their delivery progress, and administrators can monitor all activities in real time through notifications. Our implementation uses all three required design patterns: singleton to ensure only one system manager exists, factory to create different type of users, and observer to handle the notification system. So aside from that, we also implemented complete CRUD functionality for users, drones, and delivery requests, as well as three types of reports for data analysis. My group mates will now walk you through the technical details from our UML class diagram and design patterns to the specific methods and GUI components that make this system work. I'll now turn it over to Atchico Michael, who will present our UML class diagram and explain the class relationship between our classes. So that's all for my part, and thank you so much for listening.
So, greetings, Janus. I am Jan Michael Atchico from 2ITC. So, here in my part, the UML class diagram of our project. So, the drone delivery system is Java-based, designed to manage drone-powered package deliveries. And its structure is built around the three design patterns, which is the singleton, factory, and observer. So, to keep everything organized and efficient, so the system revolves around an abstract class called user, so which serve as the parent blueprint for the three specific user types, which is the admin, customers, and the drone operator. All of which inherits the common properties like the user ID, username, password, full name, and the role of from the user. And this user class also implements the DeliveryObserver interface, meaning every user in the system is capable of receiving notifications. So to cleanly handle the creation of these different users types without scattering the logic everywhere, we use as UserFactory class and then simply tell it what type of user you want, and it returns the correct object, um, which is the factory pattern. So all the data in the system, the list of users and drones and delivery requests is centrally managed by the delivery system manager. So here, so the user, which is the admin or the customer or also the drone operator, um, uh, also the list or centrally managed by the delivery system manager, and also the drones and also the uh, delivery request. So it allows the singleton pattern, ensuring only one instance of this manager ever exists during the entire runtime of the application, and exposes all the methods needed to add, update, delete, and retrieve users drone and deliver request. So class, the drone class represents each physical drone and stores its model um, status, maximum weight, capacity, and also maximum flight distance, and the usage count that tracks how many deliveries it has handled. So when a customer places an order, delivery request is created, storing the package, uh, description, weight status, and assign done, request date, delivery date, and then the two address objects. One for pickup, this one, and um one for the delivery destination. So where address is an inner class, this one is an inner class uh, that can only exist inside a delivery request, making it a composition relationship with a strict multiplicity of exactly one addresses per request, and whenever the delivery status changes, the delivery request acts as the subject in the uh, observer pattern by notifying all attached delivery observers, which in practice means the customer automatically receives an update. So on the graphical side, the application has four screens, which is the login frame is the entry point where any user logins and gets redirected to their specific dashboard. The admin dashboard, this one, sorry. The admin dashboard gives the admin full control over managing users, drones, and deliveries while also generating reports like daily delivery, summaries, and most used drones. So for the customer dashboards, that extends the JFrame also. So let's customer submit new delivery request and then view their history. Then for the drone operator dashboard, it allows the operators to assign available drones to pending requests and monitor active deliveries. So all of the four these GUI classes depends on the delivery system manager to access and update the data, while each also depends on its respective user subclass to know who is currently logged in, so making the delivery system manager the single most central piece that ties the entire application together. So that's all from my part.
Greetings pa, I am Jio Segundo from 2ITC and I will be discussing the singleton um, purpose. So the singleton structure, to achieve this restricted instantiation, the class employs three specific code mechanics. First is the private static instance. The variable private static delivery system manager instance holds the unique reference to the class. So being static means it belongs to the class itself rather than any specific object. Next is the private constructor. So the private delivery system manager is explicitly marked private. So this prevents other classes from using a new keyword to create additional copies of the manager and locking down the instantiation process. Next is the static accessor method. So the public static delivery system manager get instance method is the only way for the rest of the application to interact with the manager. It uses lazy initialization, meaning it only creates the object the very first time it is called. So every subsequent call simply returns the existing instance. For the key operational method is the initialize dummy data. This acts as a system's bootstrap process. Upon the first creation of the manager, it populates the array list with data specifically um, DJI drones, various user roles, admin, customer, operator, and initial delivery request. So this ensures the application is in usable state immediately upon start up. Next is authenticate user. So string username and string password. This is the system's primary security keeper. So it iterates through the centralized user list to verify credentials. Because the manager is singleton, this method always checks against the same master list of users, ensuring that a user added in one part of the application can be authenticated as one or in other. In centralized ID management, the manager maintains next user ID, next drone ID, and next request counters. By keeping this within a singleton, the system guarantees that every new entity created receives a unique incrementing ID without the risk of duplicates that would occur in multiple managers were tracking IDs independently.
Hello, greetings. My name is Jilllian Tabanganay from the ATC and I'll be explaining the UserFactory class. So, UserFactory class is the same pattern that help us to create objects without directly using the new keyword everywhere in code. So, instead of creating objects in different parts of the system, we use one class that is responsible for creating them. So, this makes our code cleaner and easier to manage. So in our project, we use the user factory class for this. So now let's look at the create user method. So in this method, we pass the user type, user ID, username, password, and the full name. Then the method checks what type of user we need to create. So if the user type is admin, it will create and return an admin object. If it's customer, it will create a customer object. And if it's drone operator, it will create drone operator. So basically, depending on user type, the factory decides what object to create. And so let's see in Delivery System Manager. So in this class, let's scroll to initialize dummy data method. So in this method, you will see the dummy data that is already registered in the system. That's all. Thank you.
So, dangal greetings, Sir Janus. For the delivery request of our project, first we have declared different private fields such as request ID, customer ID, package description, package weight, pickup address, and delivery address, which are an address object that is only created when the delivery request is created. Next, we have status, assign drone ID, request date, delivery date, and a list of delivery observers. Next, we have a constructor that accepts multiple parameters and sets the private class fields values. We also have an attach method that accepts a delivery observer object, which adds the observer into the delivery observers list. We also have a detach method, which do the opposite thing of the attach method, which removes the current observer from the delivery observers list. Next, we have a notify observers that notify the delivery observers inside the delivery observers list inside this class. Next, we have an update status that updates the current status of this delivery request and a set of getters and setters of the private fields of this class. We also have an address object that is only created inside this class that have a private field of street and city, and a constructor that accepts multiple parameters and sets its private values.
Good day everyone, my name is Sheena Mae Regio, and I am here to explain the user classes, inheritance, and polymorphism. First, let me explain the user class. The user class is declared as an abstract class, which means it serves as the base class and cannot be instantiated directly. It also implements the DeliveryObserver interface so that all the user can receive delivery notification. We have a private attribute such as user ID, username, password, full name, and role. And this constructor of the user class is used to initialize all the attributes when a new user is created. These lines assigns the values passed as parameter to the corresponding attributes of the object. For our getter method, we have get user ID, get username, get password, get full name, and get role. Those getter methods are used to retrieve or access the value of the private attributes of the user class. And for our setter method, we have set user ID, set username, set password, set full name, and set role. Those setter methods allow us to modify or update the value of the attributes when needed. For the update method, this method from the DeliveryObserver interface. It is used to receive the notification about the delivery status. This code displays the notification message for the specific user. The user class defines common structure and behavior of all the users. It includes attributes, constructor, getter, setter, and update method for the notification. Next, I will explain the inheritance and the polymorphism in action. The inheritance is shown in our system where the admins extend the user class. The customer also extend the user class, and the drone operator also extend the user class. The user class is the parent or the base class, and it contains all the common attributes and methods shared by all the users. These attributes such as user ID, username, password, full name, and role are inherited by the all subclasses. So we don't need to rewrite them in the admin, customer, and drone operator class. We only use this super keyword, so this class will inherit all the attributes of this parent class or the user class sub. the user class. Then this update method is also inherited by all the user types, allowing them to receive the notification. This inheritance because the child classes reuse the property or behavior of the parent class, making the system more efficient and maintainable. And for the polymorphism, this interface defines a common method called update that different classes can use. Then the user class implements this DeliveryObserver interface, meaning all the user types can act as the observer. This privately stores different types of object, such as admin, customer, drone operator, but they are all treated as the delivery observer. Next is this notify observer method is responsible for notifying all the observers. Then this for loop is the polymorphism in action. The system called the same method update but different object responds to it. Even though the method being called is the same, the object receiving it can be different types of user. This shows that one interface can represent multiple forms. This is called the polymorphism in action because the system dynamically handles different objects using a single interface runtime. In summary, the inheritance allowed the code to reuse while the polymorphism allowed flexibility by handling different objects using a single interface.
Greetings, Sir Janos. I am Axel and I will be explaining the admin dashboard in our drone delivery system. So our dashboard class has the UI components of the admin dashboard, and the admin dashboard appears after a user is logged in as an admin. Our admin dashboard has 4 panels, which includes the Manage Users panel, and we use the Create User Management panel method to generate the Manage User panel. Inside this method, we have here a table that has the column names of user ID, username, full name, and the role of the user. And then next, we have here an add button. And after we click the add button, it calls the show add user dialog method. And then next, we have here an edit button. And after we click the edit button, it will check if we have a selected row from our table. And if not, it will show a message that has a text of please select a user. And then next, if we have a selected row or selected user, it will get the user ID of that user on that specific row, and then it will pass the user ID to the parameter of the show edit user dialog. And then next, we have here a delete button that deletes a specific user on our selected row from our table. And then next, we have here a refresh button. So the refresh button calls the refresh user panel after we click it. And then next, we have here a show add user dialog. So this has the input fields and the labels for the form of our add user form. And that includes the username, the password, the full name, and the role. And then next, we have here a save button. And after we click the save button, it gets the username, the password, the full name, and the role from our form. And then next, it checks if all the required inputs has a value. And if not, it will show a message to the user that has a text of please fill all the field. And then next, if the all fields are not empty, it will then proceed to adding and creating a new user using the UserFactory, and it will add the user to the system manager. Then it will show a dialog that says user added successfully. And then next, for the edit modal, I mean the edit uh, dialog, we have here the show edit user dialog, and it has a parameter of int for the user ID. And then next, it checks if our the user is equals to null, and then it returns, and it will not proceed to the next code. And if the user is existing by the by the ID, by that specific ID, it will then display a label and input fields for the username, the password, the full name, and next we have here a save button. And then next, it will update the information of that specific user by those updated informations on the edit user modal. The next tab is the Manage Drones tab, and we generate this tab using the Create Drone Management Panel method. Inside this method, we have here a table that has the column name of drone ID, model, status, max rate, max distance, and usage count for the drones. And then underneath the table, we have here the Add button. And after we click the Add button, it calls the Show Add Drone dialog method. And then next, we have here the Edit button. And if we click the Edit button, it will check if we have a selected row in our table. And if we don't have any selected row in our table, it will display a message that has a text of please select a drone. And then next, if we have a selected row, it will get the drone ID from that specific row, and it will pass the drone ID to the parameter of the show edit drone dialog method. And then next, you have a delete button that is responsible for deleting a drone. And then next, we have here the refresh button, which calls the refresh drone panel method after we click it. And then next, we have here the show a drone dialog. This has the form for the add new drone, and inside this form, we have the labels and the text fields for the information of the drone. And that includes the model, the max weight, and the max distance. And then we have here the save button. And if we click the save button, it will get the information, and it will store the information to the variables that represents the information of the drone. Then it checks if the informations are empty. And if the informations are empty, it will display a message that says, please fill all fields. And then if the informations are all provided, it will then proceed on creating an instance for the drone and adding it to the system manager. And then next, we have here the show edit drone dialog method, and it has the parameter of drone ID. And then next, it checks if that drone is not existing, and if it is not existing, it will not proceed to the rest of the code. And if the drone is existing, it will show a form for the edit drone model. Then it has the label and input fields for the model, the status, and the max weight, and the max distance. And they are all pre-filled by the information of that specific drone by the drone ID. And then next, we have here a save button. And then if we click the save button, it will then set the model, the status, the max weight, and the max distance of that specific drone by the updated information coming from our edit drone model or edit drone format. And then third tab is the Manage Deliveries tab, and we generate the Manage Deliveries tabs using the Create Delivery Management panel. And inside this method, we have a table that has the column names of request ID, customer ID, description, weight, pickup, delivery, status, drone ID, and request date. And then underneath the table, we have here the delete button that is responsible for deleting a request. And then next, we have here a refresh button that calls the refresh delivery panel methods. The last tab in our admin dashboard is the reports tab, and we create the reports tab using the create reports panel method. And then inside we have the daily report button, and it calls the show daily delivery report. The next is the most used drones button, and it calls the show most used drones report method. And lastly, the customer history button, and it shows the show customer delivery history method. We're gonna be showing you how the admin dashboard looks like. And then next, let's try logging in as an admin. And then now you can see the admin dashboard. And then we have here the four tabs I mentioned earlier, which is the manage users, manage drones, manage deliveries, and the reports tab. And then first, let's look at the manage users, and it has the table of the users that are existing in our system. Then next, we have here four buttons that includes add user, edit user, delete user, and refresh button. And then after we click the add new user, it will display a form that has the input fields for the username, password, full name, and a drop down for the role. Then next, let's try clicking the edit user. So now we don't have any selected row from our table. So the edit user displays an error message that says, please select a user. And now let's try clicking a user. Now, uh, after clicking the edit user, it will now display a form that has the input field for the username, the password, and the full name. And it is also pre-filled by the information of the specific user on the table we selected. And then next, we have here the delete user button. Then after clicking the delete user button, it will display a confirm dialog, and it has a message that says, are you sure you want to delete this user? With yes and no choices. And then next, we have here the refresh button. And then now let's try clicking again the delete user. It will now display an error message because now we don't have any selected row from our table. And then next, let's look at the Manage Drones tab. And then inside the Manage Drones tab, we have the table for the drones. And then we also have 4 buttons here. And the first one is for adding a drone. Then after clicking the add drone, it will display a form that has a input field for the model, the max weight, and the max distance. And then next, let's try clicking the edit button. And like the edit button from the manage users table, or the manage users tab, it will display an error because we don't have any selected row from our table. Then now let's try clicking the edit drone button. Now it displays a form that has the input field for the model, status, max weight, and max distance. And they are all pre-filled by the specific information by the specific drone from the row we selected. And then next, let's try clicking the delete button. Now we have a selected row, so it shows a confirm dialog that has a message that says, are you sure you want to delete this drone? With yes or no choices. And then let's try to reach the refresh button. Now it's the table has now uh, we don't have any selected row from our table. Then let's now try to click the delete drone button. Then now it shows a error message that says please select a drone because now we don't have any selected row from our table. Next, let's go to the Manage Deliveries tab. And this tab shows the delivery request from our system. Then we only have a delete button here. And then after clicking the delete button, it shows an error message because we do not have any selected row from our table. Then next, let's try clicking again the delete button. Now it shows a confirm dialog. If you are really sure we want to delete that specific request with the choices of yes or no. Then next, let's move to the reports tab. Let's try clicking the generate the daily delivery report button. Now it displays a table that has request ID, customer, description, status, and drone ID. It is now empty because we do not have any uh, delivery report for the day of April 28, 2026. Then next, let's try clicking the Generate Most Used Drone report. And it displays the drones that uh, are existing in our uh, system. But now, it displays all of them because we do not have any usage count for the drones. Then next, let's click the Generate Customer Delivery History. Then have it will display a window that has a drop down that uh, enables us to select a user. Let's try selecting Janus tab. with the ID of 2. Then now it will display a table that has the delivery request from that specific user. And that's all for the admin dashboard tab. Now I will be giving you an in-depth walkthrough on how we add users after we click the add user button. So the addition of the user happens after we click the save button inside our show add user dialog method. Then after we click the save button, it then store the informations from the form inside this username variable, the password variable, the full name variable, and the role variable. And then next, we check if those variable is empty. And if those are empty, it will show a dialog that says, please fill all fields. And then next, if those variables is not empty, we will then create an object for the factory, for the user factory, and we call it factory. And then next, we create an object for the user using the factory object. And then we call the create user method inside the factory object. And then we pass the role, the username, the password, and the full name on the parameter of the create user. And then next, we call the system manager object, and then we call the add user from the system manager object, and we pass the new user to its parameter. And then next, we will gonna be showing a dialog that has a text of user added successfully. And that's all for the add user method. Now I will be showing you how our editing of the user works. So the editing of the user happens after we click the save button inside the show edit user dialog method. Then next, inside, we set the username of the user by the information that we have on the username field. And then next, we set the password of the user based on the password that is in the password field. And then next, we set the full name of the user on the full name that is in the full name field. And then next, we call the system manager and we call the update user on the system manager object, and we pass the user to the parameter of the update user method. And then next, we display a dialog, success dialog that says user updated successfully. Now I will be explaining how the deletion of the user is happening after clicking the delete button. So first, after clicking the delete button, it checks if we have any selected row from our table. If you don't have any selected row, it will then display a error message that says, please select a user. And then if we have a selected row from the table, it will then get the user ID from that specific row of the table, and then it will have a confirm dialog that checks if the user really want to delete that specific user. And then we have here an if statement that checks if the answer of the user in the confirm dialog is equals to yes. And if the answer of the user in the confirm dialog is yes, it will then delete the user by calling the system manager object and then calling its delete user method and passing the user ID to the parameter of the delete user method. And then it will have a message that says user deleted successfully. CRUD operations from the Manage User tab is also the same in the CRUD operations in our Manage Drone tab. So first, let's go to the addition of the drones in our system. So the addition of the drones in our system happens after we click the Save button inside the Show Add Drone dialog method. Then, it will store all the information from the fields in our form to this variable, which is the model variable, the max weight text variable, and the max distance text variable. And then next, it checks if those variable is empty. And if those variable is empty, it will show an error message that says please fill all fields. And then next, if those variables is not empty, it will then proceed to this block of code. And then this block of code gets the max weight from the input fields from our form, and then the max distance from the input fields of our form. And then next, it will create an object for the drone that is named new drone. And then we will gonna be passing the variables to the drone classes constructor. And then next, we're gonna be calling the add drone method from the system manager object, and we're gonna be passing the new drone in its parameter. Then next, it will show a success message to the user that says drone added successfully. For the editing of the drone, it happens after we click the save button inside the show edit drone dialog method, and then it will set the model of the drone that we will gonna be editing to the information that is in our form. And then it will also set the status, the max weight, and the max distance based on the information that is in the uh, edit drone uh, edit drone edit drone form. And then next, we will gonna be calling the update drone method from our system manager object, and we will gonna be passing the drone that we are editing to its parameter. And then next, it will show a success message that says the drone updated successfully. Now, I will be explaining how the deletion of the drones work for our system. The deletion of the drones happens after we click the delete button in our Manage Drones Manage Drone tab. Then next, it checks if we have a selected row from the table. And if we don't have any selected row from the drones table, it will display an error message that says, please select a drone. Then if we have a selected row in our table, it will then get the drone ID of the specific row. And then next, we will have a confirm dialog that says, are you sure you want to delete this drone? And then next, we have here an if statement that checks if the answer of the user to our confirm dialog is equals to yes. And if it is equals to yes, then we will gonna be calling the delete drone method from the system manager object, and we will gonna be passing the drone ID to each parameter. And then next, it will display a success message that says drone deleted successfully, explaining how our show daily delivery report method works. So first, it creates a date formatter with year, month, and day. And then next, we create a dialog window that says daily delivery report, and then the day to day. And then next, we will gonna be initializing the column names for the table, which has the request ID, customer, the description, status, and the drone ID. And then next, we're gonna be preparing the counters for the total today and the delivered today. And then next, we're gonna do traversing to our to the list of our requests. And then next, it has an condition, an if condition that check if the requests was made or created today, or if the request was delivered today. Then next, we're gonna be updating the total counters, total today counter, and then we will also be updating the delivered today counter with the condition of if the request that get delivery date is not equals to null, and the request that get delivery date that equals to today. And then next, we will gonna be getting the customer name. So we will be creating a customer object, and then we're gonna be creating it by calling the get user by ID method. And then inside the parameters of this method, we are gonna be calling the get customer ID of the request object. And then next, we're gonna be storing the customer name to the customer name variable. And then next, we will gonna be creating the row of the table, and then we're gonna be getting the ID of the request, the customer name, the package description, the get status, the get assigned drone, and then we're gonna be adding the row to that to the table of our table of the show daily delivery report. Now let's move to the show most used drones report method. So this method displays a table of the most used drones in our system. So first, it generates a dialog that has a text of most used drones report. And then next, it defines the column names of the table, and the column name includes the drone ID, the model, the usage count, and the status. And then next, we get all the drones using this block line of code, and we put it inside a array list, and the array list is called the drones. And then next, we're gonna be sorting the drones by its usage using this for loop. And then next, we're gonna be adding the data to the table. So we traverses to the drones list, and then we're gonna be creating the row, and then we're gonna be getting the ID of the drone, the model, the usage count, the status, and then we're gonna be adding the row to the table model. Now let's go to the show customer delivery history method. So first, we're gonna be creating a array list of customers inside our method, and then next, we will gonna be filtering all of our users from our system manager. And then we have here an if statement that filters all the users if they are a customer. And then if they are a customer, we will gonna be adding the user to our customers list. And then next, we have here an if statement that checks if our customers list is empty. If our customers list is empty, we're gonna be displaying an error message that says no customers is found. And then next, we will gonna be preparing the string of customer names for our selection. So it gets the customer name and the customer ID. And then next, we're gonna be showing our drop-down selection with this block of code. And then next, we have here an if statement, and this handles the cancellation if the user cancels the selection of a customer for the show customer delivery history. And then next, we're gonna be getting the customer ID by extracting the number from the ID of our customer. And then we're gonna be creating a customer object, and then we're gonna be calling the get user by ID method of the system manager object, and we will gonna be passing the customer ID to its parameter. And then next, we're gonna be creating the column names of the table that we will gonna be showing to the show customer delivery history. And the column names includes the request ID, description, weight, pickup, delivery status, request date, and delivery date. And then next, we will gonna be getting the list, the requests from that specific customer, and then we will gonna be populating the data based on the request that is existing for that specific customer, and then we will gonna be getting the request ID, the package description, the package weight, the pickup address, the delivery address, the get status, the get request date, and the get delivery date. And then we will gonna be adding the rows to our table model. And that's all for the show customer delivery history.
So, greetings, Sir Janus. My name is James Lazar T. Peralta. I'm here to tackle the customer dashboard and the logic behind it. So, upon scanning all through these GUI components, and we also have here a submit button. So, we added a action listener to the submit button, which validates the fields that are filled by the user to check if, for the if statement, we check if the fields is empty, and if any of those fields is empty, it will show a message that will notify the user to please fill all the fields. So, and we also have here a try catch. So once all the fields is valid, it will make a new delivery request instance here, and it will call the system manager to add the delivery request, and while having the parameter of the object. So after doing that, there will be a successful message that will notify the user that the delivery request is submitted successfully. So after doing all that, all the fields will be set to empty. So once the for our catch block, we have here a that will not once the weight value is invalid, it will show a message of invalid weight value to the user. So we also have here a create history panel which has a list of the requests, and we have here a for each that traverses and will show the requests that are currently in the list. So upon what's the refresh history panel method? So basically what does it do is, well, it traverses all the history panel to show, and it has a if block that will show all the delivery history of the user. So that's also, let me now demonstrate to you the customer dashboard. So let's log in as a customer. So customer 1, pass 1, 2, 3. So let me show you if any of this field is empty. So if any of these fields is empty, it will show the error message of please fill all fields. So let's say electronics. Package rate is 1.0. Pickup street is Katapatan. Pickup city is Cabuyao. Delivery street, Cabuyao. So let me show you the other error message once the package weight is not valid. So let's say add kg. So what you see here is the error message that will notify the user that the weight value is invalid. So let's remove the kg and submit the request. And as you can see, there will be a success message that will notify the user that the delivery request is submitted successfully. And once we hit the delivery history, it will show all the new all the new requests and the past request of the delivery request of the user. So as you can see, the status is still pending because we still need the drone operator to assign a drone to it, so the status will change into transit or delivered. So that's all for my customer dashboard. Thank you.
Dangal greetings po, I'm Jamelle Cassandra Rustria, and I'll be discussing some of the features of the drone operator dashboard. So for the drone assignment tab, we'll be able to see the table of the pending delivery request. Here we have the request ID, customer ID, description, weight, pickup, delivery, and status. We also have here the assign drone button, which is the one to be used when we will be assigning a drone to a specific delivery request. So before I proceed with the demo, let me first explain some of the methods in this class. So the create assignment panel is responsible for building the interface where the user sees and interacts with the delivery request. It creates a JPanel with a border layout. In the center, it places a JTable inside a JScroll pane so that it can be scrollable if there are many requests. It creates an assign drone button, which when clicked, checks if a row is actually selected. If a row is selected, it grabs the request ID from the first column and passes it to the next step. For the filtering logic, the system manager that gets all delivery requests is called to get the full list. The data are only added to the table if its status is pending. For the show drone selection dialog, this method acts as the bridge between a request and available drones. First is the availability check. It fetches a list of available drones. If the list is empty, it stops early and shows an error message. A drop-down for the selection that lists the drones and their specs. This helps the user decide which drone fits the package. Once a drone is selected, the system needs to change the state of the drone. So this happens inside this block. Request that set assigned drone ID links the specific delivery to that drone. The request status changes from pending to in transit. The drone status changes from available to in use. Then it calls drone that increment usage count, which is for tracking its usage count. So for the demonstration, let me first log in as a drone operator using the username and password here. So once we click login, we'll be able to see, just like I showed earlier, the drone operator dashboard in the drone assignment tab. So here is the table of pending delivery requests. Let's select one and then click the assign drone button. We'll be able to see the drop down and select a drone that we want, and then we click OK, and a success message appears saying that the drone is assigned successfully and that the request is now in transit.
So the greetings, Sir Jonas. My name is James Peralta, and I'm here to demonstrate the drone operator dashboard and give you a demo of it. So we have here a first method, which is the initialize components, which just adds the GUI components such as the panel, background, label, font, border, and the buttons, and the panel, and adding the components. So let's look at the create assignment panel method. So as you can see, we have here a title label pending delivery requests, and we also have here a array of the column names. So we have the request ID, customer ID, description, wait, pick up, delivery, and status. So we also have here a table model that will add the column names, which is the array, into it. And let's look at the list of delivery requests, and we use the system manager to get all the delivery requests on the list. So we have here a for each that traverses in the delivery request list. So we also have here a if block. If that filters if the delivery request is pending, it will get the request ID, customer ID, package description, package weight, pickup address, delivery address, and the status, and it will add it in the table model. So we also have here a button, which is the assign drone, and we added the action event, which we have here a selected row with table that is equals to table that gets selected row, and we have here an if block of if the selected row is equal to -1, it will show a error message of please select a delivery request, and it will return, and it has a return to repeat the action to make it right. So for our request ID, so we have here an if block to filter to prioritize the number. For example, number 1 delivery request, you can't add a drone to number 2, 3, and 4 if the request ID number 1 is still unassigned. So we have here a first request ID that will get the value at selected row 0. So why 0? So let's take a look back at the column. So the element number is 0. So request ID is 0, customer ID is 1, description is 2, wait is 3, pickup is 4, delivery is 5, and the status is 6. So we set the parameter of selected row to 0. So request ID will also get the value at 0 also. So we have here a if block that if the first request ID is greater than request ID, it will show an warning message that drone assignment denied. Please prioritize the first request, meaning to the user. So once the assign button is, we have here now the assign button, so we have the refresh, and we have now here the show drone selection dialog. So upon clicking the assign drone, it will show the selection dialog of the drone. So we have here the delivery request system, and we get all the delivery requests by ID. So we also have here the list of available drones. If the available for the first if statement, if if there's no available drones at the moment, it will show an error message of no drones available at the moment. So once there's an available drone, so we have here a array, and we will show the drone options for, and we also have here a for statement, a for loop to show all the available drones to be selected and assigned in a delivery request. So once the selected drone is selected and assigned to delivery request, it will it will prompt this message of assign drone, select a drone for delivery request number, and will have a assign drone message. So if the selected drone is null, it will not equal to null, and the assigning is successful, it will change the status to in transit, and the request status to in transit instead of pending, and the drone status in use. So once the status in use, it will not be available for another request for the meantime. So after assigning the drone, it will show a successful message that drone assigned successfully at request number, plus getting the request ID of the delivery request. So we also have here the create monitoring panel, which has the request ID, description, weight, pickup, delivery, drone ID, and the default table model. So we have here the list of requests again, and we have here the for each, and we have here an if block to filter the request to in transit. So once the in transit is selected, it will show all the delivery information of the in transit, such as the request ID and the description and the full details of it. So now let's look at the action event of the complete button. So now we have here a if statement that if the selected row is equal to -1, it will prompt an error message of please select a delivery. So once we get past at that, so we have here a int request ID that will get the selected row to 0. So it means the array is pointing again to the request ID. So delivery, and we also have the instance of delivery request is equals to system manager get delivery request by ID request ID. So we have here a simple date format, and the simple date format is year, month, and date. Delivery date is, it will assign the SDF format to new date. So we will set the delivery date based on the SDF and the update stat, and we will change the status to delivered. And we also have here the drone equal to system manager get drone by ID, and we will again set the status to available, and we will now update the drone. And once the delivery is marked as completed, it will show the request ID, and it will show an success message, which is the delivery marked as completed request number plus the request ID of the delivered. So same as the so we have here a refresh assignment panel, which just removes the old panel and replaces it a new panel to be shown. So same as the monitoring panel, it will also remove the old monitoring panel, and it will show a new one that has the new information on it. So let me demonstrate to you the drone operator. So operator 1, excuse me, pass 1, 2, 3. So upon logging in as a drone operator, we will see the pending delivery request. So let's try skipping request ID number 1 and going straight in delivery request number 2. So let's assign drone. As you can see, there will be a warning message that will notify the user, the drone operator, that drone assignment denied, please prioritize the first request. So after clicking OK, it will return, and that's assignment number 1. As you can see, there's no need for a warning message to show because we prioritize the number 1. So it will also show all the available drones to be assigned. So as you can see, we have 5 drones here, so let's assign number 1. So upon assigning drone number 1, as you will see, the observer will notify, or it will show in the console that the delivery request number 1 status will change to pending into in transit. So now so as you can see, we now have 2 delivery requests. So let's skip number 2 and go straight in number 3. So as you can see, the warning message will also show once we prioritize number 3 instead of 2. So let's try number 2. As you can see, the warning message will not appear because we prioritize number 2 instead of number 3. So let's assign number 2, and as you can see, the console will also show that the delivery request number 2 status changed from pending into in transit. So once we go in the delivery monitoring tab, as you can see, the request ID of number 1 and 2 that we assigned a drone earlier, the status is still in transit. So once we hit the refresh button, it will show the delivery monitoring, which is the in transit. So once we click the mark as delivered, so you see there will be a success message that will show that the request ID number 1 status is now delivered. So let's check the console. As you can see, the delivery request number 1 status now has changed from in transit to delivered. So let's look at delivery request number 2, and let's mark it as delivered. So as you can see, once we hit the refresh, we will go back in the first tab, which is the drone assignment, and we will see the remaining request ID. And as you can see, upon clicking, after marking the delivery request number 1, which we assigned the drone number 1, it will now be available for next delivery. So as you can see, the number 2 is still processing the order, so, and it won't show in the available drones. So let's mark the delivery request number 2 as delivered. So once we mark as delivered the delivery request, it will also show the success message of the delivery. So let's check at the console. So as you can see, the notification for Axel Remojo delivery request number 2 status changed from in transit to delivered. So let's hit refresh. So as you can see, we are back from the drone assignment tab, and let's look at the available drones for assigning. So you can see the drone 1 and drone 2 is now available instead of being unavailable for the meantime because of the first 2 deliveries. So that's all for the drone operator dashboard and demo. So greetings, Sir Janus, for the drone operator workflow. So I will explain it. So for the drone operator, so once the customer make a delivery request, the status of it will be changed to pending, and once the drone operator assigned the drone, the status will now change into in transit. So as you can see in the console here, and once the drone operator marked it as delivered, it will change the status to delivered. So that's all for the drone operator workflow. So what did we learn in this project? So primarily is the polymorphism, abstract, and the design patterns, which is the singleton, factory, and observer, which was used in our project, for which the 3 of them was used in our project. So thank you so much, Sir Janus, and that's all for the drone operator workflow, and thank you again.